Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about why Socrates did not escape Athens. So let's get straight to it. There are three dialogues that describe the events closest to Socrates' death: the Apology, the Crito, and the Phaedo. In the Apology, he is charged with two crimes, impiety and the corruption of youth, whereas in the Phaedo, he drinks the hemlock after talking about death and immortality of the soul. The Crito is one of the shortest dialogues of Plato. It is placed in between the Apology and the Phaedo because it presents in a very brief dialogue the justification of Socrates' decision to not leave Athens even after everything has been arranged for that purpose. So let's discuss the Crito now. It is early dawn after the day of the trial. Socrates has been condemned to death, and suddenly Crito breaks through into the prison where he is kept. Crito looks at Socrates, who is sound asleep. He does not dare to wake him up. He waits, and when Socrates does wake up, he is surprised to see his friend at such an early hour. After inquiring about the reason of such an early unexpected visit, Socrates learns that Crito is using the moment of early dawn to make arrangements for him to escape. Then the argument turns towards the discussion of weighing of opinions. Socrates, after finding Crito disturbed by the verdict of the Athenian public, says to him, "But my dear Crito, why should we pay so much attention to what most people think? The really reasonable people, who have more claim to be considered, will believe that the facts are exactly as they are." Crito says that no matter what, his friend should consider the gravity of the public opinion in his trial. To which Socrates replies, "I only wish that ordinary people had an unlimited capacity for doing harm. Then they might have an unlimited power for doing good, which would be a splendid thing if it were so. Actually, they have neither. They cannot make a man wise or stupid. They simply act at random." This is the first attack by the great sage on the weightage of the public opinion. He does not consider public opinion to be worth a penny, not only because they are unwise and act randomly, but also that they have no say in matters of life and death, blame and praise, justice and injustice. Crito is not convinced. He gives a list of the stupidities of the Athenian people that have affected Socrates and his friends gravely. He begins thus: "First, there was the way you came into court when it was quite unnecessary. That was the first act. Then there was the conduct of the defense. That was the second. And finally, to complete the farce, we get this situation, which makes it appear that we have let you slip out of our hands through some lack of courage and enterprise on our part, because we didn't save you, and you didn't save yourself, when it would have been quite possible and practicable if we had been any use at all." The manner the trial was brought to the assembly, the trial itself, and the helplessness of his friends in face of the situation all combined to give an impression of a farcical theatrical play. Socrates listens to him calmly and again reminds him that he is mistaken to believe that Socrates has decided to drink the hemlock because the public has asked him to do so. He provides the reasoning by pointing out his standard of accepting and acting upon an opinion. He says, "Very well then, we must consider whether we ought to follow your advice or not. You know that this is not a new idea of mine. It has always been my nature never to accept advice from any of my friends unless reflection shows that it is the best course of action. I cannot abandon the principle which I used to hold in the past simply because this accident has happened to me. They seem to me to be much as they were, and I respect and regard the same principles now as before." The fear of death will not lead him to change his principles. He repeats his standard of judging opinions. He does not just listen to every opinion as relatively worthy as any other. In his eyes, an expert's opinion is worth much more than thousands of stupid minds shouting its contrary. He speaks about the right course of action for any commoner. So he ought to regulate his actions and exercises and eating and drinking by the judgment of his instructor, who has expert knowledge, rather than by the opinions of the rest of the public. This is the old argument that can be found in many previous dialogues, especially the Republic and the Symposium, where he has discussed in detail about these issues. But here he relates the health of opinion with the health of the soul and body. According to him, Following bad advice brings harm to the body and also to the soul. An opinion generated from a sick mind can only make the other mind who adopts that opinion sick. Therefore, Socrates would have none of it from Crito. He would only listen to an expert. In the Crito, we see the glimpses of the divine intervention he mentions during the apology as his defense. The expert he will follow in the present case is not a real person, but an imaginary character, the laws of Athens. He invites Crito to think of what the laws of his beloved city Athens would opine in this case. They would have the opinion worthy of listening to and acting upon. What would be the just course of action at this moment according to the laws? Socrates says that the laws would say, do you expect to have such license against your country and its laws that if we are trying to put you to death in the belief that it is right to do so, you on your part will try your hardest to destroy your country and us its laws in return? And will you, the true devotee of goodness, claim that you are justified in doing so? Are you so wise as to have forgotten that compared with your mother and father and all the rest of your ancestors, your country is something far more precious, more venerable, more sacred, and held in greater honor both among gods and among all reasonable men? Do you not realize that you are even more bound to respect and placate the anger of your country than your father's anger? That if you cannot persuade your country, you must do whatever it orders and patiently submit to any punishment that it imposes, whether it be flogging or imprisonment. And if it leads you out to war to be wounded or killed, you must comply, and it is right that you should do so. The laws ask Socrates to either persuade them if they are wrong or obey them silently. Athens lays claim to Socrates' obedience because without Athens, Socrates is a nobody. Later on, the laws explicitly say to Socrates, you will abide by it, Socrates, if you listen to us, and you will make yourself a figure of fun by leaving now. Then Athens further reminds Socrates his worth without this great city. Do you intend then to avoid well-governed states and the higher forms of human society? And if you do, will life be worth living? Or will you approach these people and have the impudence to converse with them? What arguments will you use, Socrates? The same which you used here, that goodness and integrity, institutions and laws are the most precious possessions of mankind? Do you not think that Socrates and everything about him will appear in a disreputable light? You certainly ought to think so. His soul and body would be tormented in this world and in Hades if he does not listen to Athens. It would have been unjust on Athens if Socrates would have fled Athens that early morning with Crito. Athens would have forgotten him forever, and so would have the world. Every man or woman is a citizen. The city in which we live has carved our mind, our character, in short, our whole personal identity. Socrates had spent more than 70 years serving the city-state. He had fought for it against Sparta. He had seen the heights of Periclean Athens. He had seen the fall of Athens in 404 BCE at the hands of Sparta and the Persians. And then he had seen the 30 tyrants placed by Sparta assume control over Athens. He had seen Athens from its highest glory to its lowest disrepute. Now there is nothing else left to see. Socrates should die because now Athens is dead. Thank you, everyone.